Hey, welcome everybody. This is John Palmaducci, Dr. Speed Selling. This is Raging Verbalist number 59, and this is 2021. Welcome. Hopefully you had a great and survived the whole New Year's thing. And if you were too hungover to watch last week's, well, you're in for a big treat this week. So, as always, is the ever lovely Sandra here to help me through this. She is my spirit guide through the valley of YouTube, Facebook videos. By the way, if you haven't subscribed already, you should. I mean, hey, we're just trying to get as many people as we can. Leave a nice comment, please, because she reads them. Send us love, but send us money. So anyway, Sandra, welcome to Raging Verbalist.
Hello, thanks for having me. I would appreciate some money, yes. Good way to start the new year.
I always love watching a YouTube video and the guy goes, yeah, and it doesn't cost you anything. And I'm like, well, maybe it should. So, all right. So this week, everybody, we're going to be talking about New Year's resolutions. And I think that's a great topic because most people, well, let's face it, most people this time of year actually start thinking about that. Sandra, for those of you who are not familiar with the Raging Verbalist, quickly, is that I talk about a lot of things, don't really get into politics because, I mean, that gets into a big swamp, but talk about business, talk about personal development, talk about, hey, shit, that's on my mind. All right, so Sandra, what is your first question? And by the way, if you want to get a question to Sandra, go to the Facebook page, Position to Win book page, and you can go do that. So, all right, Sandra, what is the first question to kick off our New Year's resolutions?
Yeah, did you set any New Year's resolutions this year?
Well, it's interesting because let me tell you my philosophy about New Year's resolutions, and then I'll answer your question. New Year's resolutions are kind of an interesting thing. We humans have to mark time some way, right? Because we're on this rock hurling at about 1,000 miles an hour, tilted on its axis a little bit, which, I always used an excuse when I was drinking of why I spilled my drink. Well, hey, the whole axis is still tilted. So maybe that's why I was spilling it, But anyway, is that what a resolution does is it kind of helps you figure out what you're going to do. So this year I have set a few, and I'll share a couple of them with everyone. So the first one is that I'm going to really learn the power of no. And what I mean by the power of no is that I get bombarded on a regular basis with opportunities and deals. I get excited about them. I start working on them. And the problem is that usually the people I'm talking to who bring me an opportunity are really kind of sprinters. So I'm going to now do more disqualification, and I'm going to do what Warren Buffett says is the most important thing you can do, which is to learn the value and the power of saying no. So I am in fact working to become better at the no side. And it's not that I don't want more ideas, more opportunities. I mean, hint, send them this way. But I just am not going to suffer the fools who are not really putting in the effort and time. So that's one of my resolutions, is to say no, not as much as a 2-year-old, but more than an entrepreneur who gets sucked into the excitement of a new deal and saying yes, 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 yes. And because it costs me time, costs me money, costs me resources, and I don't want to do that as much anymore. So there's that one. The second one is all about health. There's now that I wear this Fitbit Charge 3, I know there's a Charge 4, there's a Charge 4 limited edition, blah blah blah. Anyway, I've been wearing this thing, and I'm going to actually check it, and I'm now going to try to walk X number of steps a day minimum, without cheating, of course. And what I want to do is really kind of up the number of steps and improve and get into better shape. So, but it starts with something that concrete. By the way, most resolutions are so wishy-washy and all of that they don't get anywhere. So those are really two that power of no. And the other one is that I'm going to walk X number of steps, and maybe down the road, I'll reveal what that is. I also believe that lots of times people tell their resolution to other people because it makes them feel good without any intention of actually doing anything about that resolution. It's like, hey, I'll start my diet tomorrow kind of thing. So that's the one that I have. Now I have to ask Sandra, who, clearly, Sandra, what, if any, resolutions have you set?
I haven't particularly set any. I really haven't, I guess, but I do have, I guess, general goals of being healthy. And so I'm actually already into my week-long detox of pretty much getting rid of all the fat and sugar from all the lovely holiday goodies. So I'm into that, and then just going on my health journey.
Well, when Sandra told me that she was going to do the detox, I did not realize, having spent some time, having worked with her now for these many months, I did not realize that she had these kind of addiction problems. But then she had to explain to me that it was, eating better. I mean, to me, detox is where, you have to go to a clinic and they've got the windows sealed and you have to go to group counseling and and you're sitting there and you've got the shakes and I mean, but no, she's just going to eat healthier. So and which is good. Congratulations on that. I mean, everybody I guess needs to think about what they're going to do that way. And again, I encourage everybody to figure out what is the best path for you. So Sandra is taking the I'm going to be healthier this year or continue to be healthy. So she kind of lets herself get sugar binged. Sounds like during the holidays.
Yes.
And well, but
The
here's
sugar cookies.
yeah, but you have to say them without saying the recipe because the recipe is a family secret. I have I'm trying to get it so I can learn how to make these cookies because I do like to cook. But she has said, hey, there's a lot of concern about this recipe getting out. It may tear a hole in the in the time space continuum. But and these are your grandmother's or great grandmother's recipe.
It's my great 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 aunt, and so way back, and I think it was like maybe her mom's recipe back in like the 1800s. So old family recipe.
But here's why she has to go on detox because they still make the cookies essentially the same way, right?
Yes,
And what is one of the ingredients in the cookies?
a good old cup of lard.
You heard it here first. So you are looking at Sandra, and she has eaten cookies with lard. I don't know how she does it. I mean, if I went by them, they would just like the vapor would just like boom. I mean, I'd be, I'd have to go, go up an X size or something.
My
So
mom's
okay.
phrase for them is, "You might as well tape them to your hips because they're going there anyway."
There you go.
That's
So
right.
so that's what she's detoxing. She's off the lard. She's off the sugar. Yeah, we know that when she's down and out, she'll be wearing a pair of sunglasses, hair a little disheveled, hard to believe. Holding a tub of lard with the sugar shaker, going, all right, let's make some cookies. Excellent. All right, well, so there we go. What is the next question? What is the next thing on the tip of your tongue?
Why do New Year's resolutions fail?
Well, and this is an easy one. Having now worked in the arena of coaching people for hard to believe in excess of 20 plus, going on to probably close to 25 years, is that most people make a resolution and they don't really resolve. I mean, the whole point of a resolution is that I resolve to do this or not to do this. And I can tell you that most of the time that nobody is really committed to this course of action. And that's the hard part. The course of action is tough. It's just like I've met people who say you should journal every day. Okay, maybe, okay, I think that's a great goal. However, I've met almost like no one in my life. And then when I realized, when I got the, because I have a reprint of, Leonardo da Vinci's notebooks. I mean, Da Vinci couldn't do it every single day. So I mean, what the heck, But I'm not saying you shouldn't try. But I think most resolutions fail is that they fail on three accounts. Number one is there's really a true lack of commitment to it. It sounds good, it makes us feel good, and that lets us, feel like we've made some progress. I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna quit smoking. And that's a great resolution to have, in my opinion. But you have that, and you say, okay, I'm going to do that. But if there's not a commitment behind it, because a commitment means that it isn't when it's easy to do that, but it's when it's hard that you stick to the commitment. So number one is lack of commitment. Number two is not having really a plan. You got to have a plan to make a resolution work. If you don't have a plan to make a resolution work, you know what? Ben Franklin said it. If you do, if you don't plan, you're planning for failure. I'm taking liberties with Ben. He's long gone, so what the hell? But essentially, it's if you fail to plan, you are really you're planning to fail. So there's no plan. And the third is realizing that there are a bunch of emotional triggers tied to your behavior. And this gets back to the mistakes I see people make over and over and over again, which is they think they can change behavior by kind of like just saying it. Oh, I'm going to not do this or not do that. A perfect example is the guy who moved me to California was my original boss, Tommy. We'll leave his last name out, but Tommy was there, and I was a smoker at the time. And whenever we would go out drinking, and yes, I was a drinker at the time too, but whenever we would go out drinking and Tommy would have, first drink, he was rock solid that he wasn't a smoker. Second drink, he was borrowing a cigarette off of me. Third drink, I had to go out and figure out where the damn vending machine was because he was going to smoke up my pack. And that's because he had triggers. And the triggers were that if he was drinking, then he thought about that he should be smoking while he was drinking. Now, I'll throw in a fourth bonus reason why they fail is that we often pick conflicting resolutions. So they fight against each other and they cancel each other out. And, this is fine if you're, going to go out and build a cartoon or something. It's not good if you're going to build resolution. So that is the fourth one. Look for conflict. Conflict is bad in that. The most successful things that I've ever given up or ever improved upon or ever done meant that I actually did not have conflicting resolutions and therefore had a prayer, had a chance, and actually got it done. And I'll give you the fifth one, right? I said we had three. The fifth one is the super bonus, which is you got to think in terms of that is, the life is a marathon. It's all about today and today only. And that's really hard to have that juxtaposition between it's today that Sandra isn't going to go over and eat multiple sugar cookies from great aunt. I think I got enough greats in there.
Yep.
And I want to see a picture of how, she's going to become another, Marvel, super aunt, with the lard cookies and, a spatula, but anyway, you just have to have that perspective of today, but also long-term because you have to stick to it. So that's why I think that they fail.
All right. So with that, what are the top most popular New Year's resolutions?
So not in any particular order, because you can go look them up, and we've kind of provided a link, I think, through our tweets and stuff, and and all of that. But here are some of them, and I'm just going to pick them out in the order that I think. First and foremost is I meet people all the time who say they're going to lose some weight, and all I can tell you is again we shoot from the kind of the chest up. But anyway, I have lost a lot of weight in my life, and I've put it back on, lost it, put it back on. If the average jockey is about 110 pounds, I could field a pretty good race with jockeys that I've lost over the years. And the reason why that has happened is that, it's a tough thing to do, because that's, again, we got to chug our way through it. So losing weight is like up there. Exercising more. Nothing is better to say that I'm going to exercise more. The reason why I really like something like a tracker, like a Fitbit, for me at least, is that I can then turn it into a game. I can then look at it and say, okay, how many steps have I done? How many steps do I need to do? Can I run around the block one time, or, go down and, do something so I can get some more steps in. And if it becomes a game, it becomes easier. But exercising more is something people talk about. Time is always a factor because you can always come up with an excuse and not be able to do that. So that's a big one. Here's another one. Again, quit smoking. You know, a lot of people have quit, and you know, whatever means necessary. It took me 5 times. We could do an entire raging verbalist on my, you know, quitting smoking and what that final, you know, pushed me over the edge. And now it's been a very long time. You know, last time I had a cigarette was January 1st, 1985. That's a long time, 36 years. And I have to tell you and I say this to my doctor, and he originally thought I was joking, but it's true. I'm not like one of those ex-smokers that, you know, because a lot of ex-smokers become really militant around smokers. And I understand why, because in some ways you go, well, I can't do it. Nicotine, for my taste, was an incredible drug, still is an incredible drug. It's just highly addictive, and smoking's really dangerous. So I don't want to do it. But I always tell my doctor, listen, if you can convince me I've only got 6 months to go, I'm going to go buy a pack of Marlboros, like a carton of Marlboros today. You know, I mean, I'm going to go out. I'm going to go out you know, at least having that. So quitting smoking is one of them. You know, there's a whole giant list that we could keep going through. I'll pick just 2 more. One is that people want to talk about spending more time with their family and friends. I don't know how this even makes it on the list with COVID-19, maybe because we're isolated somewhat, but I can tell you that most people don't maximize the time they have when they're with their family and friends. If you're going to be with your family and friends, especially today, because you know, I have done lots of meetings in my life, and what happens is that today everybody is meeting like this. Hey, how you doing? How you doing? How you doing? Now, again, you know, I'm not in the whole dating thing, but I like watching people, and in general, I can pick out the couple and the length of their relationship is watching them doing whatever they're doing. And I don't know how we're going to carry on as a species, because it doesn't appear that there's a lot of connection, because unless they're texting each other or Instagramming each other or you know, messaging each other or WhatsApping, I mean, it's just a strange world that we're growing into. So if you really do say you want to spend more time with people, what the hell are you going to do? Because we have become so much addicted to doing things. I mean, you know, not to, I won't even say who this is, but you know, I think she'll know. But you know, having dual televisions, so husband and wife can sit in the same room. Husband can play video games. Wife can watch television at the same time. And we're not talking little baby screens. We're talking big mother of earth screens. Again, you know, it's a different world. So if you want to spend more time with your family, you know, you got to figure out what you're going to do. And the final one is getting organized. And this one is one of those things where there's a reason we have a green screen. There's a reason why the camera just takes in what it is that, you know, I end up having stacks and stacks of stuff. Getting more organized is probably a good thing. Again, I'll give you the key to getting this done, which is make sure that you block time. If you don't block time, if you can't discipline blocking time, then you know what? You're not going to get anything done. I'll tell you a quick story about time and time management. As I was sitting there, and I was actually in a drug study. No, it wasn't how to give them up, but you know, there was this experimental drug, and I have this condition. And so they said, my dermatologist said, hey, you know what? I can get you into this study. I said, great. So they get me in the study, and I'm there, but you have to go and, you know, they give you the drug, and then you have to take all your vitals, and they got to see if you're, you know, you're going to, your head's going to explode or something like that. So the first time I'm there, I have a little bit of, you know, things, you know, I have my phone and all that. Well, by the time I get to the second treatment, I have assembled my entire office. So I bring my office with me and I lay everything out. So in the 2 hours that it would take to do one of these sessions, they're only going to see me for a total of maybe 10, 12 minutes, maybe. Because, you know, they got to give you the shot. They got to do, you know, first they do the background, give you the shot, do this. And of course, they were astonished because by the end, I essentially would convert a waiting room into my office for a period of time. So if you're going to get more organized, you got to think about, well, what does that look like? What does that mean? And for me, it means that if you're going to do it, make sure that you can put everything together and then be able to find a productive place, because being organized for the sake of being organized. And I know there are some of you who are out there who are, OCD, anal retentive, blah, blah, blah. But what I want you to do is you got to be productive. It's not just about being organized. Now, part of being more productive, of course, is making sure that you are reading the right materials. And that means if you haven't done this, if you haven't read this, here's a resolution that everyone, I hope all of you will make, which is to read more. And I have a great suggestion. I know this is not an objective point of view, but my suggestion is that you go out and you pick up, guess what? Most businesses fail in the first 5 minutes. Just takes them 3 to 5 years to realize it. Position to Win. This book is out there. We are going to probably relaunch in 2021. We'll probably tweak it a little bit, but right now you can go get it on Amazon. You can go to Barnes & Noble. You can go and get it on all kinds of electronic formats, from Apple to Nook to Kindle, and you can go check it out. Also, you can go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com, and you can then request a signed signature copy. Tell me what you want to say, as long as it's not really stupid or complicated. Remember, hey, there's a saying, if you can spell, you can't sell. Well, I can't spell worth crap. That's why, make it simple. Okay. So, and then of course, since we're doing the shameless plug, again, YouTube, subscribe, join, Facebook group. You'll get a lot of good information. And of course, go to positiontowinbook.com. And there's also lots of free resources for you, for those of you who are too cheap to engage with me, but actually maybe that'll get you started. So, Sandra, what is our next question?
So what are some of the New Year's resolutions that you've set and have worked for you?
So probably the one, and again, I have resolutions and I keep track of them for a very long time. I think that's another part of that whole, reason why they fail, or how to make them work, kind of thing, right? So we talked about, the failure side, which actually is also the flip side of the success side. So the ones that I've really kept for a very long time are smoking. So once I made the decision that I am a binary person, and it starts with self-awareness, which means that I cannot be the moderate person. Give me a bag of, barbecue potato chips and watch it go away, because I love that stuff. But it's like, you can't have it. So I've actually really stuck to having not fallen off the wagon and smoked. And didn't smoke cigars when cigar thing came out. And when I was a smoker, I smoked everything. I mean, I smoked cigarettes, I smoked pipe, still have the pipe stand and still have that because it looks cool. Smoked cigars, but I just said, nope, can't do that. So I'm very proud of that. And it has worked for me. Understand that you just have to rewire your head. And lots of times when you give up something, people view that as a negative, right? Humans, positive and negative charges in our life. To me, it was a positive, because what I did was I realized that I would probably lengthen my life because of the number of cigarettes I smoked. And when I was really in the most addicted stage, if you will, I was smoking between 3 and 5 packs a day. And I can't imagine what my voice would sound like today. I would probably be 2 or 3 more octaves lower, so I could then do, like a Barry White cover band or something. But just yeah. So that was one of them, and that has worked for me in a big way. My suggestion for everybody is that you don't think, I'm going to quit this forever. I'm going to quit this for right now. Does it become easier over time? Yes and no. The yes part is that in times of stress, it becomes harder to do. And remember that life is filled with lots of irony, lots of ridiculous things that go on in life. One of my favorite stories is the guy who invented the nicotine patch. It's a guy named Danny Panos. Made so much money off of the transdermal patch that he built on a 600-acre plot of land, a French chateau in Georgia. Had so much money, he funded 2 racing teams. And even though the biggest use for transdermal delivery of medication or delivery of substances is nicotine, He owned his own private plane. You're saying, well, that fits. You can build that kind of joint and everything. But he owned a private plane and flew private. He just died like last year, or maybe 2 years ago. But what Danny Panos, the reason why he had a private plane is that till the day that he died, he was a smoker. I mean, you want to talk about the world of irony? The guy who invented the patch that helped more people stop smoking than anybody else, the guy who smoked to the very end. That's irony. So that was one that really stuck and worked really well for me and has worked well for me. And, it has, I think that it is worth understanding that. And then also taking time every year, because I really am a big believer in the understanding your anniversary date of things that happened in a good way. And that way you have a certain level of gratitude, which then gives you positive reinforcement to keep on this trek and this journey. Okay, what is the next question? So now we have, that was a good story. What was the next question?
Yeah, what are some of them that didn't work?
Well, I would have to say that the toughest one that didn't work is that I lost a huge amount of weight. I went from, really big guy to a very skinny guy. Again, back to my original, because when I was young, I was very thin. And I lost this huge amount of weight, and I had kept it off for a number of years. And slowly, but surely, I started slipping away. And it has been a struggle ever since. I never did get back to that really supreme case or where I was at. I can tell you that that was really frustrating and tough. And it's one of those things that, here's the other side. Now, when when you figure out that you can't have certain things or you can't do things, stress drives lots of activities in our lives. But I want to just remind everybody, because almost everyone gets it wrong. And it's really simple. And that is that stress does not create the character that you are. Though some people believe it. I went back to drinking, I went back to drugs, I went back to this, I went back to that. Not to minimize anybody who has slipped and fall in. But what I can tell you is that stress reveals the character of who you are. And that's the hardest thing that you have to accept. And once you accept it, then you know what? Life becomes a little bit easier. Doesn't necessarily mean that you have the magic wand. Doesn't mean that you can just say, oh, okay, click, I'm turning that off. Click, I'm doing this. But what it means is that, it really does change what that is. I'm sitting on an airplane flying from San Antonio to Denver. And I'm at the window seat. I used to always sit on the aisle, but people walk down the aisle now and they have a backpack that extends, like an 18-wheeler. They have no idea that when they turn, they're going to clobber you with this thing. They got a water bottle swinging off of a carabiner that, is a lethal weapon in certain states. They got, I got all of this stuff and they are clueless. So I have given up on that, and I actually sit on the window seat. Not that it's the most comfortable place to sit, but I have the fewest bruises and nicks and all that stuff. It just drives you crazy. Anyway, so I'm sitting there on this flight, and this couple comes and they sit down, husband and wife. Wife is, of course, just, for anybody who goes, oh, whoa, he's stereotyping. Well, she's shorter than he is by a lot. So she's sitting in the middle seat, which I'm happy because he's a big guy. I'm a big guy. I'm basically a biscuit short of 230. So, I'm a big guy. So we're sitting there and we start having this conversation, which I know, having a title like Raging Verbalist, that I would have a conversation with people. Well, I have a conversation with everybody I meet, basically. I try to. So I'm sitting there talking to her, find out that what she does is that she is a doctor. And one of the things that she's doing as a doctor is she is working with the politicos in San Antonio, and they are working on helping people understand the deleterious effects of certain habits, one of which is, of course, smoking. And I said to her, okay. And she goes, yep. So we are going to tell people, we're going to educate them, we're going to put them out there, and then they'll learn, and then they'll have the light come off off of their head, and then they'll go out, and then they'll quit smoking, they'll stop because they'll see why they should do it, and they'll make this good choice in life. And I looked at her and I said, are you kidding me? Are you telling me that you can sell prevention? By the way, the lesson for everybody, if you're in business, if you're in life, is that selling prevention is nearly 99.999% impossible to sell somebody on prevention. They have to have something happen which now flips their switch. And it isn't just giving them a pamphlet. It isn't just telling them what's going to happen. Something has to flip inside of them to do it. I've never met a single recovering addict, alcoholic, ex-smoker, whatever, who has not had to have that happen. Okay. So we start having this interesting discussion. And of course, I said, well, what does your husband do? Now, all this time, he has been working on his laptop, which means that he's a very weird guy anyway, because most people who are on their laptop on flights are either, today they could be reading a book, right? Kindle book. They may be, in fact, playing a game. On a transatlantic flight, I was basically up in business class, and you'd be surprised at how many people were watching porn and not sharing. And sometimes you get especially on that Friday, you get the person who's working on their expense report because they're going to submit it. But this guy's actually working on his laptop. And I said, so, hey, pal, what's your story? And it turns out that he is a cancer specialist, and he is going to speak in Colorado at this event. And as he's going to speak at this event, he's going to speak about cancer, and he's a lung cancer specialist. Wow. So we start getting into this discussion about smoking, because again, I'm an ex-smoker. And I said, look, here's the reality. You can't sell prevention. On top of which, we're not spending nearly enough money on actually figuring out a different way to deliver nicotine to people who are not going to be able to give it up. Whether it's vaping or even chewing tobacco or a patch or whatever, gum, well, whatever it is. Now, she gets really upset. Now, in the meantime, I've ordered a Diet Sprite, when they still had Diet Sprite on the plates, and they both are drinking wine. I said, so let me ask, on this row, who is the addict? Who, are you both addictive? Nope. Two doctors. One's a researcher. One's a person who, is beyond a bleeding heart of a person trying to help everybody out, but no understanding of what addiction's all about. And they're drinking wine. The point of it is that it doesn't work unless something inside of you flips. So I sat there and said, look, if you found a way that people no longer inhaled smoke, but in fact they have their nicotine delivered some other way, and we had a delivery mechanism that worked, would we have a lot fewer deaths from lung cancer? And she goes, no, we want everybody to quit. Well, of course we do, just like we want everybody to stop eating, lard cookies maybe. But the reality is that's not going to happen. And I said, but we would save more lives by figuring out better delivery systems than not. Pragmatism would win. So she says to her husband, well, what are you thinking? Now, he is trying to ignore us and avoid this conversation. I say, okay, Doc, here's my case. We alter this and we figure out how to deliver nicotine in a way that people don't inhale carbon monoxide. They don't inhale all the particulates. They don't inhale all that smoke, all that stuff. Do we save lives? Are we net ahead? And he goes, well, absolutely. Because in the course of nature, we've had lung cancer since we've had humans. Animals have cancer, except that it's a much lower incident. That's why we know that smoking is so deleterious. It's so bad. And she then resorts to starting to hit him. And I said, well, I think you're losing your argument by turning to violence. But the point of it is that whatever you have, whatever your issue, whatever your something is that's not working, examine it carefully. Develop a certain level of self-awareness and see if you can solve that problem. And if you do that, maybe you'll figure out that you can move to a more healthy space, because I like to think of it as it's not necessarily quitting something, which you are quitting. I mean, that's not kidding ourselves. You're stopping it. But what you want to do is you want to think about how you're turning to a more healthy lifestyle, which is what, Sandra's talking about when you detox and you knock out this and you knock out that, but you're turning to a healthier lifestyle. So that to me is an important thing. All right, Sandra, looking at the clock, give me as our final question for resolutions and how we resolve.
How do you construct a New Year's resolution if you seriously want to change something?
So if you're going to really get serious about a resolution, in my opinion, the first thing is that you have to have it be specific. Number two is that you should write it down. That's a scary thing, but you should write it down. I know there's a lot of people who say, well, but I've got it on my, on my phone, or got it on my tablet, or I got it on a file in the cloud. Fine. But it means a lot to write it down. Get a pen, ink, so it doesn't easily go away, and write down what you want to do. And then more importantly, the next thing is why you want to do it. What is your motivation to do this? What is your impetus, your push? What is propelling you to, in fact, go forward and do that? So it has to be specific. It has to be written down. And you have to ask yourself the question, why? And then you have to map out step by step, what are you going to do that? For me to quit smoking, even though I was highly motivated that last probably 2 years that I was a smoker, I tried 5 times and the 5th time worked. And that's the other thing, is that if you fall off the wagon, go find a wagon to get back on. And what I did was I slowly but surely understood why things were working and not working and how they were doing it. And part of that is you have to be specific. You have to write it down. You have to write out the why. You have to have a plan, and that plan has to be written. And then the final piece of it is what is the recovery? What is the recovery plan? And the final step is that you have to do this. And if you don't do this, I don't give you much chance. In fact, I would bet against it. And the final piece is that you have to forgive yourself when you don't make it work. We have a tendency to be very much perfectionists as humans once we want to go for something. And because of that perfectionism, we end up driving ourselves crazy. So you have to be able to forgive yourself. And if you do that, and then again, go back and start over again. But that's the key. Once you forgive yourself, it isn't, well, I forgive myself, let's go have another drink. It's when you forgive yourself that you have to go and get back into the game and start working on that resolution again. So let me wrap up by saying that I hope that all of you sit down and actually think about what you want to have as a resolution. Are you a person who writes out a few or writes out a lot of them? The real question is can you make meaningful change in your life? And in my experience of my own life, I have made meaningful change. Change that has stuck, change that has worked. By no means has it been an easy road, but it has been a productive one. By no means has it been perfection, but it in fact is moving in the right direction. It does not matter where you are at. It only matters the direction you're going and the trajectory of where you're going to go. A resolution is a marker which tells you that you need to change in a different direction and a different trajectory. Do that, and you will become more successful at doing resolutions. And do that, and what you'll discover is that your life will become more of what you believe you want it to be, because you need to have the sense that your life is worth risking, driving, and living for. And with that, I just want to thank all of you who've come on the Raging Verbalist number 59. I want to thank Sandra, who has been our lovely co-host, and coming out and helping out and doing that. Quick reminder, go to positiontowinbook.com, positiontowinbook.com. Always can ask questions there. Go to the Facebook page, same thing. And until next week, I resolve to do another one of these next week.